You're listening to Off the X with your hosts Tyler Wells, Forrest Carvajal, and Barrett Moon. Brought to you by Pond Creek Duck Calls. Call with confidence. High and Dry Utility Poles. Rixie Outdoors, changing the world of dog stands. Hunt Proof, the premier waterfowl mobile app. Brown Water Leather Lanyards. And Wellons Land, Arkansas's leading recreational real estate and development firm.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Off the X podcast. I'm Forrest Carvajal, and I'm here with my best good friend, Senior Short Shot, Tyler Wells. How are you?
Doing better than I deserve.
Very nice, Dave. How are you, Mr. Bourbon Boy, Barrett Moon?
I'm above ground.
You're above ground. These old man sayings over here. And Mr. Matt with the camera work. How are
I'm
you?
in the presence of greatness. I'm doing amazing.
I know, Barrett's got it. I mean, he's got the beard going today. What can we say about Mr. Barrett over there?
Man.
The presents are great. He wasn't talking about me.
Yeah,
He knows who I was talking about.
Well,
Oh,
I know, yeah.
Tyler's been shooting really well, too. Yeah, I know. All right, guys. Well, we're going to talk Delta, I assume, tonight, since we've had some really cool stuff happen at Delta. And we're probably going to talk
Really cool stuff.
That's all
really
you
cool
got?
stuff.
That's-
Really cool stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll start from the
Okay.
beginning.
Give him Tyler. Give it to him, Tyler. Here it comes.
Give it to him.
Give it to him.
The champ is here!
The champ is here.
The champ is here! The champ is here!
I'm not talking while that's going on.
I mean, Forrest won't toot his own horn, so we're back
it
here
for
just
him.
laying on it.
Yeah.
It was a very good weekend. I'm not going to lie about that. But we're going to try to stick to our typical show, and we've got a new bourbon tonight. So we're going to do a bourbon review first, and then we'll dive into the rest of Delta and what else is to come. So
Sounds good.
actually, this was given to us by the boys from Hunt Proof. Thank
Yes,
y'all
sir.
very much.
Thank you, guys.
And Barrett, do you want to dive into it? It's over there closer to you.
So this is Old Monroe Original Stumpies. It's a straight bourbon whiskey out of Columbia, Illinois. It's pretty tasty, pretty smooth.
Yeah, it's really
sipping.
good.
In fact, I'll pass the bottle if anybody wants to read. It's a pretty light bourbon. It's not super syrupy, super sweet. It's got a little bit of a vanilla note off the front, off the nose, if you want to say, and then it finishes really smooth. It doesn't have a lot of bite to it. Now we all have it over ice, which probably helps a little bit, but it's got some flavor notes, a little bit of floral, and I don't have a whole lot of spice on the tongue, but I mean, you guys give me your take on it.
Yeah, no, it is pretty light. On the nose, it almost smells kind of like a berry.
Yep.
And then when you
I'd
taste
agree.
it, it's not heavy, it's not real syrupy, but it's got like a butterscotch sweetness to it.
They dive into this way better than I do.
Well, I mean,
Let it sit on your tongue. For
yeah,
a minute
let
and
it sit there.
taste it.
Yeah, I think if you didn't have ice in it, the butterscotch
Yeah.
would pop a lot more because it would be a little more syrupy and it would lay there a little bit longer.
It's got a little bit of sweet to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not overpowering
not
or
at all.
anything. It's not like the
Oh gosh.
the pecan one.
I like that
Drinking
one.
syrup.
Oh, it was great, but this is more if you're a bourbon purist, this would do it for you.
I couldn't smell a whole lot, honestly. I don't know if I've got something going on with my nose, but I didn't get a whole lot as far as smell. But the floral and the fruit, I get a lot of that as far as taste it goes. I get a lot of taste, as a matter of fact. Not overwhelming, but it's close. It's borderline. So I think if I didn't have the ice, it probably would be like a whole lot of taste to it. But the guys that like them neat, I mean, it'd be spot on for them, I guess.
It's an easy drinker for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
What
really
was the
good,
name of it
really
again?
good bourbon.
Old Monroe from the original Stumpies. And I was reading apparently they pull from a certain 5 barrels on their batches. So it's a single barrel. So I mean it's a good bottle for sure.
Thank you, Hunt Proof. We really
Yeah.
appreciate
We
it.
appreciate you guys.
Definitely appreciate it.
We're going to enjoy it, and in your honor.
You're here.
So let's go into Delta, because the first day, Friday, what did y'all think of the event?
Well, let's back up to Thursday.
What happened Thursday?
Setup.
Oh, I wasn't there for
Well, these
setup.
two cats were.
Me and Cubby were there.
Oh, boy.
We were there. Yep.
Matt, do you want to start it? Because you haven't spoke yet. We didn't
What happened at setup?
Oh, Tyler and I just had to set everything
Oh,
up.
okay.
But I
Well,
mean, it's cool. You said you weren't going to be there, so
Oh,
you
you're
weren't.
bitter.
You kept
You're
your
bitter.
word.
That's
A
what you're
little
doing.
bit.
You're
I'm not bitter.
You're calling us out for being lazy. I get it. Okay.
No, it's good.
No, we set everything up on Thursday, and then just chit chatted with some of the vendors there Thursday, and then Friday morning, man, we hit the ground running. I mean, there was a line. It started at noon, right?
Yeah.
On Friday.
And and the governor, Miss Huckabee Sanders, she cut the ribbon and let everybody in, and there was a line of people to get in.
I was impressed with how many people were there right at the open. I figured like 4 o'clock people would start rolling in, but I mean, from open to close on Friday, it was packed the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
On Friday, too, like on a work day, and it was still, there was quite a lot of people there on Friday.
I'm going to say there was as many people there on Friday this year as there were on Saturday last year, if not more.
I would agree with that.
Like,
I mean, they marketed it better this year than they did last year.
Oh, yeah. We probably gave out, 500 koozies on Saturday or on Friday?
At least.
I mean,
Y'all were throwing them at people.
I talked to the guys at Ren and Ivy, and they said that on Friday this year, it beat what they did Saturday last year.
oh, how much they sold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
I mean,
Dude, every booth was busy.
it was pretty incredible.
I'll say this. I was very impressed with the way that y'all, or Matt and Tyler, the way you set up the Wellons booth. I don't think that there's a more inviting booth in the whole entire thing than what y'all's was with the furniture and the open, like you could move around in it. I loved it.
Oh, that was all Matt.
Give yourself a hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we'll give ourselves hands.
Here you go. No, wait, wrong one.
That's about
That's how
right.
it felt on Thursday when it was just us there setting up. Cricket.
But no, it was all Matt. I mean, he said he booked everything, got everything in there for us, and stayed on them until they got it set up right. But man, we had padded carpeting in that booth.
That's right.
Dude, it was
That
a
helped.
lifesaver. I was tired after the weekend, but I can't imagine how bad it would have been if we'd have been standing straight on concrete.
How easy was it from a setup and tear down standpoint as far as like getting in there, getting your stuff in there? Like, I mean, did they give you a lot of headache on trying to get?
No, man. As soon as we got in the door, they had people swarming to you with carts. And
Yeah, they had a
unloaded
ton of
your truck for
volunteers.
you,
Oh,
pulled
really?
everything to your booth, and then you were out of there.
Oh,
So as
that's
soon as you got in
Yeah,
the door,
we
they
pulled
had a
our
ton of
trucks
help.
right to where Rolling Thunder's booth was at.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So was set up quicker than tear down?
Yeah,
Probably so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was because we still had to go get a few small things here and there, but
Gotcha. I thought tear down went pretty quick.
tear down went real fast. It went a lot faster than I thought.
We were ready to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all had to know 3 full
we
days
were
of
done.
being there.
If they hadn't have been like, "Oh, so and so slipped out early," calling it out over the loudspeaker,
They did.
we'd have probably been out of
And I
there.
was
Yeah, they
still
were-
taking stuff to my truck little by little throughout the day. Just organizing. I was calling.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
they
turn
just
it down.
kept like easing by booths, and then they'd call out over the loudspeaker, "So and so's left the building early.
Really?
We'll remember that next year."
In Baton Rouge. That's where it's
Yeah.
going next year.
Hey, and we'll be there.
Oh, we're going to road
And
trip
you
it to
do
Baton
not
Rouge.
want to sleep on our booth next year. Like there's
boy.
going to be some good giveaways going on there next year.
All right.
That's all we'll say about it. But
Well, I'm interested now. I don't even
yeah.
know what's happening.
I don't know if being affiliated with Wellons, if you can put in for the drawings, but
Oh, so you're going to have drawings at the
we're going
booth.
to do drawings, giveaways. Somebody might walk away with a puppy. Something valued between $5 and $5 million.
That's it.
That's
Every hour.
that's good.
Every hour.
All right,
So Friday night.
okay, yeah, Friday night.
Don't skip that, boy.
Poor Matt missed out on
Matt
it.
did miss
I
out
missed
on
it.
that
Good
one.
time, man.
I'm sorry, Matt.
It's okay.
All right, so
So-
the Delta banquet, I didn't even know I was going to get to go. And Tyler's like, "Hey, we're going to the Delta banquet." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
We
Didn't even know this was happening.
snuck Forrest in a backpack.
Pretty much. Pretty much. But they had a silent auction and they had a live auction. And they auctioned off, I don't know, 30 different things.
A bunch.
A bunch of stuff.
It was a ton of stuff.
And
it
I
was 38. It was 30.
Was
I
it
think-
38
I think it was
things?
38.
In the live auction?
The one that we were all in.
Yeah, 38 in the live auction, and then there were
I don't know.
another
Yeah. Who knows?
40 in the
Silent.
silent auctions, I would say.
So it was impressive. Now, y'all two both kept getting up and walking around the silent auction to make sure that y'all's bids were the highest. What were y'all bidding
I
on?
didn't win anything. What'd you bid on? I know Tyler bid on some dog stuff.
Bid on a dog, had like a dog bed and some bumpers and a year's supply of dog food, and
Dang.
I mean it was a
You
good.
don't even
it was
have a
good-
dog.
I know. I don't know what I was gonna do with it. I was gonna sleep in the dog bed as much as I was bidding on it. I'm glad somebody outbid me. The lady told me, she said, "This is what I'll go up to." So I went back over there and I ran it up one more time for her. Just to help get that number up. Yeah, I was like, don't ever tell anybody what you're going to bid to.
What else were you bidding on?
I bid on some Boss shot shells, and I won those.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
come out. I don't know, $30-$40 a head. I plan on buying them anyway. So.
If you listen to the show, you know we all really like to shoot boss. So Tyler was real happy he won.
Oh
those.
yeah, I'm ecstatic.
What were you bidding on, Barrett?
I bid on one of Mr. Mike Marlar's paintings, and then I bid on a Delta bourbon set deal.
I was really hoping you were going to win the bourbon.
I know.
I didn't win either one of them.
Didn't get either
I
one
lost
of them.
the bourbon one by like $50, but I was like, I'm not going to go up another $100 just to get this.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit frustrated that I didn't get the painting, and I'm not going to say who beat me on that, but I was a little bit frustrated on that one.
It was a cool painting
So,
too.
from my perspective, because I wasn't bidding on anything, the silent auction was kind of cool because I kept watching y'all get up and roam around. And then we got to this Texas sandhill crane hunt. And all of a sudden, somebody's hands started going up. And I was like, oh, somebody's got skin in the game now. You want to talk about it, Tyler?
Sure. Yeah. So there was a Texas crane hunt for 4 people for like 2 or 3 days.
2 days.
Yeah, 2 days with lodging included. And I was like, I've always wanted to go. And it was in the panhandle of Texas, which is where my grandpa's from. So I was like, man, I could literally go shoot sandhills and then go visit my grandpa. So be a great trip. But they ended up selling 2 of them, right?
Yeah, they sold
did.
2 of them.
Yeah. I looked at Barrett and I told him like, hey, let's go up to this number, and he said, yeah, he was good with it. So we went right up below that number, and I told him, I said, I'm out. And then they backed off and they said, we'll sell 2 at this price.
I'm gonna tell my side of this story now.
What's your side?
Because I was sitting there and I'm listening to what's happening, and then I hear Tyler is bidding, and I realized that Tyler's bidding on it, and I was like, oh, here we go. And so Tyler and this other guy were back and forth on this deal, and he looks at me and he's like, you in? I was like, let's do it. So he starts rolling it, and we get up there, and finally they got to the point where it was him and that other guy neck and neck, and Tyler was going to cut it off, but the auctioneer was like, I'll sell them 2 for that price, and like sold 2 of them at that. It was a cool split, but
yeah, I came in $100 under what I was like, I'm getting out at this number.
Yeah.
So.
But man, y'all are excited. Even y'all's wives were excited about it because they're going with you.
They were pumped.
Yeah. That's going to be a really fun trip, and I can't wait to talk about it on the podcast. After y'all do that, y'all might have to take the podcast stuff with you for that trip.
Oh, I'm planning on taking it.
That'll be a really
Have
fun
either one
trip.
of you sandhill crane hunted before?
No.
It's so much fun. They're like dinosaurs and
You've done it?
helicopter soaring, and I have.
Really? When did you do that?
Incredible. It was a couple years ago down there in Texas on Matagorda Bay.
Really? So you went
Matagorda
South
Bay.
Texas?
Yeah.
Oh man, how many did you get to shoot?
I shot a few and filmed the rest of it.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. We hunted for a couple days and fished in the mornings or in the evenings.
Did you cast and blast?
Yeah, it was.
Did you get to eat them?
Yeah, I did. We got to bring them home, and it's true. Ribeye of the sky. So good.
Yes. I figured it'd be a great trip to take our wives on because it's a big target. It's not like they're just going to pick up and blow out of there real fast, so they'll have a chance just to get on them.
I actually have a scar on my hand from chasing a cripple. He turned around and got me.
Really?
Yeah, that's on video. I'll have to show you something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we need
That
that.
hurt. But
Matt squared up and dropped an elbow on him.
it's an experience. I know why those dogs wear goggles. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
You don't watch wrestling. Never mind.
Yeah, we're going to go with Prairie Bomb Outfitters.
Dude, y'all are gonna have a great time.
Yeah,
But that was not the end of the night.
That was not the end.
That was not the end of the night. So we got to this one, and it was a red snapper fishing trip. I think it's 1 day for 6 people. I think it's what it is.
Yeah, it is. One day
And
for
like
6
I think
people.
license and everything's paid
Yeah,
for.
everything.
Everything's paid for the trip. And it was like nobody was bidding on it. So somebody at this table was like, well, I'm going to bid on it.
Yeah.
You want to tell your story?
Well, it wasn't moving. Like, it was just not moving on price. And I was just kind of like calculating in my mind. I was like, 6 people? There's no way that doesn't cost at least $500 a person. I mean, that was my first thought. It was like, minimum, it has to be $500 a person.
Yeah.
So 6 people, I was like, and I think it finally got to, I don't remember what it got to, 1,000 or 1,200 or something like that. And he hit 1,500. I just threw my hand up, and he was like 1,500, and it set. And I was like, nobody else is going to bid on this.
Congratulations.
It stayed there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he was like, it's yours. I was like, sweet. We're going snapper fishing. 6 of
It'll
us.
be so much fun.
Where are y'all going out of?
Somewhere in the Panhandle, Florida.
Cool.
So
So I still haven't contacted. It's Wild Child Charters is who it is.
That's right.
Yeah. So I've got to contact them and get all that sorted out. So yeah, we took them 2 trips.
Any of y'all ever been offshore fishing or deep sea fishing?
I've been one time a long time ago.
You
I've been
remember it?
inshore, but I've never been offshore.
I don't remember much of it.
Tyler has been. He did with the fly rod.
Yeah, we went. It was an inshore trip. We were like 4 or 5 miles off, but yeah, we caught
this one might be inshore then too. It's all offshore to me. If you're in the ocean, in
Yeah,
my
that's
mind,
what
it's
I'm
offshore.
thinking.
I mean, there were a bunch of red
Off the
snapper
beach.
coming up while we were throwing at amberjack, and there was another guy from the same outfit in a boat across from us, and he hung the red snapper, and I caught a 28-pound amberjack on a fly rod. So it was a
awesome.
blast.
It looks
awesome.
from what I was looking at the Wild Child website, it looks like the red snapper, like it is just hot and fast. Like it is.
It's the way we
it's
like it.
I don't feel like any of that deep sea, offshore, inshore, whatever fishing you want to call it. I don't think any of it's slow in my mind.
Yeah.
It seems like anytime people go out there.
So
they're
what's the
catching
difference
fish.
between inshore and offshore?
The distance from the shore?
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Inshore is kind of like the flats fishing, snook, redfish.
Yeah,
trout, all
whenever we went out on a wreck and went fishing a wreck, so
Alright.
it was a lot of fun. If this is anything like that, we're gonna have a blast.
Have you been offshore fishing?
I have.
What'd you catch?
Yeah, I live down in
He's
Florida.
done it all,
I've,
man.
That's
red
true.
snapper fished a lot.
What can they expect, or we expect, or whoever's
Man,
going?
if y'all go out as far as we go, we were leaving at 2 a.m, going out over 100 miles,
Oh god,
and dropping down.
if we're leaving that early, we might as well just leave at midnight.
Talk about
or
seeing
11.
stars. It's incredible when you get
bet.
out there. But yeah, it's scary. The lights just kind of fade away, and then it's pitch black stars. You hope the moon's out, and you trust that GPS.
I did that once on a booze cruise.
Yeah.
Out of Miami, I think. I don't remember where I was at, but yeah, the stars just fade away and then the slot machines come on.
I don't think there's going to be slot machines on this trip.
No,
Did y'all catch them? Did y'all wear them
Yeah,
out?
we did. We've caught a lot.
Did y'all get to eat them too?
They're incredible.
Have y'all had red snapper?
I have not.
You have not?
I've
I've
had
always heard it's really good. I've never had it.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I have no
about
idea.
to find out.
Yep. But it yeah, well, I think it I mean 6 people. I was planning on taking the podcast crew. So
It might be
And
a
their
bunch
wives.
of seasick people. Is what it might be.
I'll take some sand and put it in my pocket.
Is that the trick?
I don't know. That's why I heard it one time.
Who
Or a
told you
jar of
that?
sand. Oh, Johnny
That's
Depp.
Johnny
He's
Depp.
got a jar of sand with him. He didn't get seasick, so it must have worked.
I bet we don't go that far off that you,
I don't
you
know.
can't
I
see
think I'll be
land.
fine.
So
I mean, red snapper, you got to get out there.
think so.
They've got a season on them too. I think so. Y'all are gonna we have to plan it around the
Yeah, I'm
specific
gonna have to-
season or whatever. Which I don't know.
Hope it's
when
not
that
duck
is.
season.
It'll be June, July when red snappers open down there.
Gonna be hot.
It'd be hot.
So
Don't jump
y'all
in.
plan for that.
Don't jump in the water. All right. So
Why not
Friday
jump
was
in the
over.
water?
What happened
Yep.
on Saturday? Anything?
Nothing happened.
I'll
on
tell you
Saturday.
Nothing
All right,
major.
so Sunday was.
I was gonna jump to Sunday.
Saturday, I woke up. My wife and I stayed at the Capitol, and I woke up and opened the window and looked down at the convention center, and the line at the start of the convention center had already reached the steakhouse, and I was like, "Good grief!"
Yeah.
I totally forgot about something on Friday. Sorry, we
what
got to
happened?
backtrack.
Backtrack.
I judged part of the
yeah.
call makers contest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Totally forgot about
yeah.
that.
Talk about that.
That was very interesting. It was a lot bigger than it was last year. Last year it was in Stuttgart, and it was the World Call Makers contest or whatever. So they've still got the same format, but I think it was Delta. Delta took it over this year. But they had 4 different categories, and last year we had to blow every call, all 3 categories that they had last year. This year they had 4, so they split it up into 2 5-man teams, and I had the acrylic and the wood calls. Last year, the wood calls I thought were a lot better than the acrylic calls. This year, it was reversed. The acrylic calls I thought were better than the wood calls. So if anybody's listening to this that was in the contest and you made an acrylic call, it was probably better in my mind than what the wood calls were. But I will say this. I blew the wood calls last, so they had a lot of moisture in them. I blew one of them and like spit just came out of the back end of the call. I was like, you boys are slobbering into these calls. Our boy Michael Meredith He won one of the categories, I believe. He might have won the open category and then got second in the call maker's choice, I believe, is what happened.
It was a beautiful call.
So he did great. He did really good. He did really good. Logan Revolt won the overall, the Butch Richenbach Trophy. I remember his call that won. It was a bourbon acrylic call. It was gorgeous. I love that color. It's that deep, dark orange color. So I've always liked that color. But his call design was really neat. It was different than all the others. It had full range to it. It was a great call. I don't know that it was the number one call on my scorecard, but overall he won it, and I think he won it by a good bit. So congratulations to him. I mean, that's a big honor to win that with a lot of really stiff competition. I mean, a lot of big name small shop guys were in that contest, and he came out on top. So that's a big honor. And y'all didn't even see it, did you?
No.
Yeah, they were smart. They did not have it in the same area that the event was happening. They had it in one of the hallways, and I felt really bad for everybody walking through there because there was 10 guys just ripping on duck calls. Right? I mean, we started at 10, so it was before the event even started that we were down there blowing these calls. So it was interesting. We got a lot of weird looks from people, I'm sure, that were in the hotel that were like, what have we gotten into in this hotel this weekend?
I wish they would have had it, or said something about it, like, hey, check these out or something, because I'd have liked to come up and seen them.
They did have a booth, and the booth was actually really close to the hunt proof booth where they had them on display, and you could pick them up and blow them and stuff. I mean, it was great. I blew a lot of really good calls. Some calls I thought were better than what they placed, but I mean, it's just like a calling contest. It's subjective for the 5 judges, and you tally the scores together, and somebody wins. You change the judges up, somebody else might win.
Mm-hmm.
So what all are you judging when you're judging those call making?
So there's actually a lot of categories. The first thing I did is when I would pick up a call, I would look it over really close because I'm looking at fit and finish. And if there was nothing wrong with it, and it was if it's an acrylic call, I can't find any scratches. And if it's a transparent acrylic, even better, because they're more difficult to finish correctly. So if I can see sand lines, I'm going to take off a point. If I can't find sand lines, if I can't find glue or anything at all, I'm going to give it a 10 because it was perfect in my mind. Others they had a different way of scoring, but that's how I scored. And then you judge the quack, you judge the low end, middle, top end, the feed, the ease of use, the overall appearance of the call or something like that. I can't remember exactly how it's phrased. And then the ability to sound basically like a duck. So you had a bunch of categories that you had to score 0 to 10. Devin Singleton, who was on the last podcast, me and him were judging the same calls, and our scoring system was drastically different. So I started everybody at a 10, like on a school-based scoring system. So if I gave you a 7, that's like a C. It was like average in my mind. Mm-hmm. Okay. If I gave you a 5, you failed.
Right.
Okay. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. I didn't give anybody 10s on sound. I gave people 10s on finish because if I can't find anything wrong with it and you tried a difficult way of finishing a call, I should give you a 10. That was the way I took it. Devin scored it the way like a calling contest. He started everybody at 5. And if he liked it, he would give points. So, like, if he gave you a 7, then you did really, really well. But he gave some people 1s and 2s and stuff like that. So I was like, there were some calls that I was probably giving like 7s and 8s, and he's giving 2s and 3s. Right. So that was just the way we both approached it. So that's what I mean is it's very subjective. And if you change the judges from our 5 to the other 5, you might have a different result. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So that was cool. Me and him picked at each other the whole time about it. It was a lot of fun. I might throw a call in next year. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do because all of the people that were judging it are all from Arkansas. And if they're taking it to Baton Rouge, I don't know how many people they're going to have to work that contest since Delta took it over. So I don't know what they're going to do about that since it's in Baton Rouge next year.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is how you judged it versus how other people judged it, but you went ahead and answered it for us.
Devin was the main one that I talked to because he blew one. He's like, that's a 2. And I was like, what? How is that a 2? I mean, it sounded good. He was like, no, it had this was wrong and this was wrong and this was wrong. It's like, okay. So that's when the conversation started. And like I said, we had a lot of fun with it, but we were both being serious and we scored them strictly. It was just our perspective of how it should be scored was different, But anyhow, Saturday.
So on to Saturday.
How was that morning for everybody? Mine was great. We went to Chick-fil-A.
We did. We stopped at Chick-fil-A on the way down. Forrest he texted us on the way over. He's like, "Can we please stop by Chick-fil-A?" I can stop by Chick-fil-A for you.
Well, the day before, I didn't eat much. Like, I ate at the event, which was brutally expensive.
Yeah,
and then that night at the banquet, I didn't want to eat that food because it just wasn't my style. So I was at midnight Friday night, I'm in my kitchen cooking a burger because I hadn't had anything to eat for 12 hours. So I was up really late Friday night. So I was like, I gotta have breakfast this morning because this is the day of the contest. So I needed some breakfast.
Yep. So we took Forrest to Chick-fil-A and got him a championship breakfast.
Y'all better remember what you did Saturday morning.
Oh, dude, we're gonna repeat it.
I remember what underwear I was wearing.
Still wearing them.
No.
Taking them off yet.
They've been washed.
No, we did that, and then whenever we got down there and finally got a parking spot and walked in, and I was like, golly, because we walked by a line of people to get in the doors before it opened, and man, as soon as it was open, I mean, there was a ton of people in there, and it just got busier as the day went.
It was packed. I'm talking about it was packed. You could not walk a straight line to get down any of the aisles.
No.
You had to zigzag the whole time. It was incredible how many people were there. And I was really happy because every booth that I talked to that either they were partners of the podcast or they were, duck call makers that I know, every one of them was like, dude, we're selling a bunch. We're selling a bunch. So it seems like everybody that had a booth there did really well, which is A+. Great job.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I even really made it through the entire expo. Like, I mean, there was so much going on, and with stopping and talking, like I didn't get to make it to, last year we went and I felt like I got to see everything. I missed 80% of it.
Yeah. I didn't even go talk to High and Dry until I think it was Saturday afternoon. I don't even know if I talked to him before the contest.
Was it Saturday or Sunday?
It might even have been Sunday. I can't remember, but I went and talked to him, and they're like, dude, we ran out of product. They had to bring people from Squad Fest after Squad Fest was over, bring them down there to bring them more product to sell on Sunday because they had ran out. They were selling stuff left and right.
Yeah, everybody that I talked to, they were like, dude, we're selling, and everybody you seen walking around had stuff in their arms. Like, you didn't see anybody just walking around.
I was just dropping koozies in people's bags as they would walk by because everybody had a bag. I'm like, here you go.
So that begs to bring the argument about, okay, if we're going to do 2 years at every location, and the second year is obviously your best year because the first year everybody kind of just figured it out or whatever, like, do you think there's potential that if you gave it a third year at that location that it would be a monster, or is it a deal where
there's a good possibility?
Yeah, so it's like we're capping it at 2 years where we could see some major benefit and upswing if you do it another year.
But I do think that center is maxed out on vendors, and there was a 20 or 30 row deep waiting list of people wanting to get in.
Really?
Their biggest issue was parking. I thought. I thought that was the biggest issue with Little Rock was the parking.
That was the best thing I did because I live in Little Rock. I got a ride every day. I didn't even try to park.
Dude, I bet you I'm $50 in on parking for the weekend at least.
Yeah, I probably owe you some money for parking.
No.
I don't know. I was just thinking about that, like, because I agree. I mean, the place was maxed out. I mean, every vendor slot was taken, and there was a waiting list.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and even some people, they didn't even bring everything that they wanted to put in their booth.
Yeah.
So
supposedly where they're going in Baton Rouge is supposed to be a bigger center.
Yeah, 30,000 more square feet.
Yeah, and have more parking.
Thank the good Lord.
So they're at least going to have that in Baton Rouge, but I feel I'm still a little worried about it. Like, you're kind of eliminating, I feel like, a little bit more of the country by doing that. But, I mean, I'm not over it. They've got more membership in the southern part of the U.S. than they do anywhere else. So,
well, I talked to a lot of people after we found out Friday night that they were going to move down there, and they were like, "Oh man, yeah, that'll be like a small vacation. Like, we can go down there and spend the weekend and hit that and go hit some other stuff." I don't think. Now, I did see several people Friday, Saturday, and a few of them even Sunday that were not vendors. They were just coming to hang out because it was so hot. So I don't know if you'll get all the repeat customers that you were getting, here, just because there'll be other stuff for them to see there.
Yeah.
But
So let me ask you: do you know where the location is in Baton Rouge?
I don't. I'm waiting on them to send me out the information so we can get
Well,
everything booked.
The only benefit, or one of the draws, I was going to say, Little Rock had was the fact that it was downtown. It was surrounded by restaurants, nightlife, bars, hotels,
Yeah, you were in walking distance of everything.
everything. So I think there was a lot of draw there, but I do agree. You're maxed out on space, and parking is a nightmare in Little Rock. So,
Yeah. And what you were talking about earlier, trying a third year to even grow it more. Another thing is, since it was this good this year, but they're moving it, you kind of leave people hanging.
Yeah.
Kind of like, if they ever come back, we have to make sure that we go to
That's
that.
true.
So you kind of got that perspective too. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
I
And
hope
I don't know how DU did with theirs in Dallas, if the third year was better than the second year or not. The second year for DU was my favorite because they had it in April and it was not blistering hot.
I think DU and Dallas needs to change location in
Well,
Dallas.
they are. That was their last
Oh,
year
yeah,
in
they're
Dallas.
moving.
I don't know where.
I just hope it's indoors.
Is it
I
Memphis?
thought it was
next year?
Nashville. Memphis or
Nashville or Memphis? I
Those,
couldn't
those
remember.
two were talked about, but nobody ever confirmed.
Yeah, they didn't
either
announce
one.
it at a banquet as far
But
as we know.
I've got to say, if I got to, give the nod to either one of them, the Delta banquet was, or the
Hands
Delta
down.
Expo was hands down better
Yeah.
than what
Yeah.
the DU one was.
Yeah, no argument.
I think the DU just had so much space that they were trying to fill that they had these grand exhibits.
Not
and
the
didn't-
DU was bad.
No, it was
kind
good.
of it's kind of like giving one an A plus and an A minus. One's got to win, and we're not giving out ties, so I would have to give the nod to Delta in that.
For sure.
Between
Well,
those two,
and
this
two,
year.
they were set up two different kinds of shows, in my opinion. So
I'd agree. I mean, it was DU. I mean, they kind of had a mix of indoor outdoor. So, and it kind of
I'm glad they did because it was hot.
Well, I mean,
Golly,
it
it was
was-
hot.
it was rough.
I think the call people sold a lot more at Delta than they
yeah.
did. I know Makers was selling them like crazy at Delta, and they weren't selling quite as many at DU just because the people that were coming from Dallas, they were just looking for something to do. They weren't looking specifically for duck hunting
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
So it seemed like the calls, not just Makers, it was all the other ones too, but Makers pointed it out that Delta, they were selling the crap out of calls. I mean, they almost sold out, I think, which rightfully so. They make a great call. Everybody knows how much we like Makers. They were a partner last year. But I think at Dallas, it seemed like even in the call booths, when you would walk by, all the notches were full of calls because they just didn't. That crowd wasn't exactly looking specifically for duck hunting stuff. They were looking for something to do on a Saturday.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to Saturday. I didn't mean to get off on the.
Oh, you're good.
the
You're
Delta
good.
Tangent, but do all of you feel like your hands hurt after shaking so many hands on Saturday?
Oh yeah,
Because I washed mine thoroughly. So
I kept a couple
Well,
of hand sanitizer just
yeah.
for me.
That's why
And
Wellons
the-
had the hand sanitizer
Yeah.
is because
yeah, and it went fast. We gave out 1,000 koozies on Saturday and ran out early.
quickly.
Yeah, we ran out in the first couple of
I
hours.
really
on
liked
Saturday.
the white koozies. The white koozies were
Yeah.
legit. Whose idea were those?
Ben
Those
showed
bins.
up with them.
Yeah,
He did a great job. Those were cool. Those stood out. Everybody else has kind of had the camo look or the the natural colors, and then that white just really popped. So that was a great idea.
yeah,
Don't-
yeah. It was pretty cool.
Don't overlook the little things. Those little koozies there.
Man, by the end of the weekend, I was digging in my pockets trying to find stuff to give people because
We were out.
we were out.
Not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed at how many people asked for a red band. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think I gave out.
What do you mean? You're
12.
disappointed that more people didn't?
Yeah, I wanted to not walk home with any. Like I only handed out 2 or 3.
Yeah,
I was
I
wanting to
gave out
hand out
12.
all of them. Yeah, people.
Well, I talked to a lot of guys that they were like, "Man, I just can't get 15 shells. Like it's gonna take me that just to get warmed up."
Yeah,
So,
and kudos to Ashley Kaplan because she was like, "I want one," and she was
yeah.
gonna do it, and she told Nick. Nick was like, "No, I'm not gonna do that.
he's like, I need more than that.
Hard pass. Not gonna."
Yeah.
He like violently shook his head no right there.
Hey, I respect it, man. You be honest about it. I love it.
Oh, I told every one of them, if I see you on the WMA and I say red band, I'm coming to check you, like the game warden.
I think it's a good nod to conservation, which it's a small act of conservation.
Yeah.
So we all
got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Matt, did you get one?
No,
Matt said he's got a bandolier. He's going to haul around with him.
He said hard pass too.
Hard pass right now.
Why? Give us your why.
I'm not that good of a shot.
Oh.
We do have video proof of that.
You do. And you can post that if you want to. That's hilarious.
I wasn't gonna post that.
I don't care.
I
Go
wasn't
for
gonna
it.
do that. That was me.
That was a good
My
one.
favorite thing with Matt and that hunt specifically that you were talking about, where it was Forrest was videoing and Matt shot and missed, and he kept his gun up and turned around and looked back at the camera.
Yeah, like Jim Halpert on the Office.
He spun around and looked at it. Oh, dude, it killed me.
I might have to post it. But we'll
Go ahead.
see.
That slow turn to
I
like
felt
make
really
sure
bad
nobody
about
was
it.
seeing.
You just needed that duck dog, pop up in the corner and laugh.
No.
Oh shoot! All the younger people don't know
no,
what you're
they don't
talking
know.
about.
Exactly.
But anyway,
Great.
so Saturday we're moving through. 1 o'clock hits and the Cutdown Championship begins.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
It
And
was
they
absolutely
announced
nuts.
the number of contestants. What was it, Forrest?
There's 58.
58 people.
58.
That
people.
was the most people I've ever seen to watch a call competition.
Dude, that
was-
hall was
It was
packed.
packed.
I wish they'd opened up that where they had the banquet at and let y'all in there.
I thought that's where we were gonna be.
My gosh,
That's
dude,
where
it
they
was
should have done it.
it was exhausting standing there watching. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, when I walked up there to sign in, and they had like 2 or 3 rows of chairs, I was like, "Well, that's not going to be enough."
Yeah,
I'm so glad they didn't do it down in the foyer where they did it last year.
Yeah,
And
that
it
was
like
no
echoing.
good.
Yeah.
Even Jimbo talked about that. He was like, "We're going to have to move it for next
Yeah.
year. That it needs to be somewhere other than where it was last year."
yeah, it was so loud last year just with people talking.
And let me tell you what, there were guys after the first round, or after the first few people went, they walked back into where the bullpen was, where we were all the people that were waiting to call. And they were like, "Bro, there's people lined up to the freaking escalator.
Yeah.
There's so
Yeah.
many people out there." And I was like, "I'm not even going to look. Not even going to look at the
Nah.
crowd. Not going to happen."
I'm glad you didn't.
I really wasn't that worried about it. The crowd really doesn't bother me. I've done it too many times now that the crowd really doesn't bother me. When I get up there, I'm not even really thinking about them,
Mm-hmm.
but I also try not to look to not add in that extra factor. But we got back there and they said, before the contest even started, Jimbo said, "All right, for those of you that make the third round, we've got a change up coming." And everybody's like, gets wide-eyed, like, "Oh wow, we're gonna change stuff up. This is interesting." And then we drew numbers. Well, last year I drew caller number 1,
The bullet.
I mean, and we've got to say a thank you to Devin Singleton, because he was in the contest, and if you listen to the last podcast, he was one of my picks. I think Devin is a phenomenal cutdown caller, phenomenal duck caller in general. So he was one of my picks to win the thing. But he had a seminar to do at 4. And when he heard there's 58 people, he's like, "There's no way that I'm getting done with this before 4 o'clock." So he went to Jim and Rosie. Rosie is Jim's wife, and said, "Hey, y'all go ahead and give me the bullet, and I'll be basically the dummy caller." So he already had caller number 1, and he was like, "I'll blow over the light. I'll get myself DQ'd. That way, I still give my money to the contest," because he wants to promote calling contests.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Devin for sure.
Yeah.
So he blew over the light just so he could get DQ'd, but he still was, officially a caller. And then he got to be the dummy caller for everybody else, which also Devin is, like I said, phenomenal. So he set the standard really high for everybody else. And that was great. But like I said, I drew 1 last year. It did not work out at all. I did not blow as well last year either. I will say that. I drew number 53.
Dude.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, we know you drew 53.
The running joke when we all showed up there was like, he's either got number 1 or number 57.
Yep.
Like that was the
Yeah.
joke. So it was like,
And it wasn't number 1.
and it was not number 1.
Well, see, they take your phones from you before the contest starts, because they're supposed to show the scores out there of all the callers, and they don't want the audience texting and telling
Right,
everybody.
right.
So they take your smartwatch and they take your phones. So I couldn't, like, my phone was gone and I drew 53 and I was like, everybody's going to be pissed. All my buddies are about to be pissed because I ain't coming out for 2 hours. Because, I mean, there were guys back there that had never done contests. They're like, dude, this is going to take like an hour and a half. I'm like, this is going to take 2 hours. The first round takes 2 hours.
I think we calculated 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, it's 2 minutes per caller.
Right.
You've got a 90-second routine, plus you've got to add in warm-up. So you might as well say 2 minutes per caller. And if you've got 58, that's almost 60. So you might as well say 2 hours. And they did an intermission because there were so many callers. So they had to give the judges, like, basically a time to stand up and move around.
Oh, they took a pee break
Yeah, they
like
called it a
20
bathroom
in.
break.
Yeah. Oh, it was. Yeah, I can't
It's
remember
like,
how
listen,
many
you're supposed to do
callers
that
it
before
did.
you go, before you get up there.
It's like 25 or something like that. But yeah, and I'll be honest, I felt really good going into the contest. Like I was blowing the call well, and I've told everybody this. I'm not a cut down guy. I still don't consider myself a cut down guy. The trophy says for the contest, but I don't quite understand cut downs and like how to modify them and do all that stuff. So I don't consider myself a cut down guy. Mm-hmm. But I had a buddy text me and say, "Are you ready for this weekend?" And I was just plain, "Yeah, I'm ready. I don't know what else I can do." He was like, "F you then." It's like, I'm nervous. I was like, well, I don't blame you. I mean, I'd be nervous too, but I really don't know what else I could do different. So yeah, I'm ready for this weekend. But when I drew 53, I was kind of like, well, I'm just going to have to turn off and not even think about it for an hour and a half because that's how long I've got till I can get up there on stage. And people would come in and talk about how many people were watching and everything like that. So I do my best to not listen to anybody that gets up there. I don't want to listen to routines. I don't want to hear what anybody else is doing. I don't want to throw myself off. But I could tell I was nervous because I peed like 3 or 4 times before the first round was over.
That's just a normal day 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Dude,
Who was there was a kid.
there was a bunch of kids. There were a bunch of younger guys.
The scooter kid.
Yes. The scooter kid.
Oh, he not the kid, the younger guy that had
There
the
was an old
scooter
boy
wreck.
that
That had
got up
the,
on
Well, there was 2 of
He
them.
came straight from UAMS, it looked like. All bandaged up. Straight up on
when he got up there, I was like, either he got jumped last night or he had a wreck.
You're talking about poor Riley.
Yeah.
And Riley works for Rolling Thunder.
Yeah.
Great duck caller. I mean, he's a really good caller. And yes, it was not the night before, but it was actually 2 nights before. Oh. All of those guys were having like a scooter race or something or another. And he hopped off the sidewalk into the street and got his wheels stuck in the trolley tracks. Okay. So he flew over his handlebars or something like that, and he was going fast. I don't know how fast he was going, but it was fast. He flew over his handlebars, and whoever was behind him had looked back at the wrong time and then ran him over.
So he didn't win that contest either, did he?
He added insult to injury.
He did not. Like, he walked up, and my first thought was like, I really want to know what happened, but I'm not gonna ask. You know, I was like, dude, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, man, I wrecked my scooter. And I'm like, I'm sorry about that, bro. I mean, that looks painful because, like you said, he was
tore up. Yeah.
And like it had, but like his lips and everything were busted up. So I don't know how he competed at all.
And he wasn't the only one. Jackson Malloy from Richentone had wrecked his the night before the contest, but he ran into a tree.
And we're
not many trees down around
We're not
Stuttgart.
talking like razor scooters. We're talking the downtown
Lime scooters.
lime
the
credit
green
card scooters that get up to 20 miles an hour.
Yeah,
or so.
like they were moving.
Yeah.
And so he was, you could tell when he was back there, like, this dude's on some heavy painkillers. He is hurt. And Corey Nicken was sitting in one of the booths. He's like, were you one of the guys that I blood trailed back to the expo this morning? Corey's hilarious, man. He was not happy about blowing a cut down call. I will say that, but he's a phenomenal caller. But kudos to him for stepping into the cut down because he could have went to Squad Fest, cashed a check up there, definitely. But he stuck it out and went to the cut down contest. Kudos to him.
Yeah, I was also talking about there was another kid that competed that was wearing the big, what do they call
Pit
the
Vipers.
Pit Viper shades, and you could tell I don't know if he's ever competed before.
Oh, he was young.
Like
He was-
13,
yeah.
14
Yeah.
probably.
I mean, it was, and I just want to give kid props for getting out there because that
Absolutely.
was a ton of people watching him compete. It was not,
and he
your-
blew early in it, so
Yes.
it was like packed.
Yeah,
yeah,
By
kudos.
the time you got up there, it was like, what, 15 people left up there in the audience?
I don't know. I didn't look at the audience.
Do you know who we're talking about? I don't remember his name.
know who you're talking about. I'm not a complete jerk when I go to the bullpen, but I do try to sit with people that I already know.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to think about conversation. I'm great at, like, in the bullpen, I'll ask somebody a question and get people talking, and I'll just kind of sit there. Because then I feel like I'm part of the conversation, but I can tune out and just actually just sit there.
Yeah.
So that's my game plan when I'm in the bullpen, and that's what I did at this one. But yes, there were a lot of people that it was their first time to compete in a contest,
That's
and
awesome.
I'm telling you what, that was one heck of a stage to get up on for your first contest. I mean, there's not a bigger stage with more people to watch other than any of the other world championships. World Live Duck or the World Championship in Stuttgart have, I mean, sometimes maybe even less people than what was watching that.
I'm going to say less
round.
people than
Yeah,
what was
I'm gonna say
watching
Last
that.
year for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredible how many people were actually watching that contest. And thank you to everyone that either watched it or helped put it on. The contest ran very smooth for as many people as it was. It ran fairly quick. There wasn't many like stalls or anything like that. They were, as far as getting people on deck and up on stage, they did it really quick.
Yeah, they moved it pretty quick, which was nice. We thought it was going to be like a minute between callers, and they just kept them rolling through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really well put on for sure.
So we were having to bounce back and forth from our booth because we still had it down below, and we were working it, shaking hands, and then popping back up. But our buddy Zach Flanagan was there, and he was giving us updates the whole time. It's like, made it to the next round, made it to the third round, and then
Yeah, he
Barrett
was sending
got
the
a text.
routines.
Barrett
Yeah.
got a text at the end, was like, y'all need to get here.
So what's,
Hey, well, let me talk
Yeah,
about the first round real quick. Let me
okay.
talk about the first
Yeah,
round
go for
because there's a few things to talk about. So when I got on stage, I already have my warm-up. I do exactly what I want to do in the warm-up. I did that, and then I started my routine, and I never looked at the crowd. When you walk up from where we were at, you've got the curtains to your left and the crowds to your right. So I already knew there's a bunch of people there. And Grant McDougall, who is a buddy, he lives just 10 minutes from the house, great call maker, and he's young
right?
kid.
GM
Yes,
calls?
GM calls. He went right before me, which it was really funny that he drew right before me. Poor guy messed up. Like I listened to his routine, and when he messed up, then I turned off. But he did mess up, and I felt bad for him because he did really good at Simmons. I beat him by 1 point at Simmons, like just 1 point. So he was really looking forward to it. It just didn't work out this time. Well, anyhow, he came off stage, and I walk up, and I'm like, okay, look at Jimbo, give your nod that you want your warm-up, and then start your warm-up. And that's exactly what I did. And then I gave my nod to start my routine, and I started blowing my call. Everything was going smooth. I was a little muddy on the first section of my feed call, but I don't think anybody noticed other than me, just because I was so, like, I knew where I was at. But I did notice, or I felt like I noticed, the buzz of the crowd got quiet. So I was kind of thinking, I think I'm doing really good. I think I'm doing well enough that people have stopped talking and they're actually listening to my routine. So I've got to be doing something right. Finished my routine, was happy with it, walked off stage. A few guys were like, dude, that was really good. Congratulations. Great job. I was like, thank you. But like I said, last year, I thought I'd blew a good routine, and I got cut first round. So Rosie comes back there, and they said, well, we had already been talking in the bullpen, like, what are they going to make the cut? What's the cut going to be? And
Where did y'all think the cut was going to be?
I've done enough contests where I know they pretty much try to cut at 50%, and then depending on scores, they'll cut maybe a couple more or a couple less. So I was really thinking somewhere between like 28 to 32 or 31. I was kind of thinking in that range. And Rosie came back there and she said, all right, we're cutting it to 22. Everybody back there's like, ugh, like, holy crap. You know, like, this is a deep freaking cut. So she calls all of our numbers. She starts calling numbers. It's no random, it's completely random. You don't know where your place is. It's not like they're calling, in numerical order.
It's just as they're going down the sheet, they're just
Kind of, yeah. And like, they kept calling numbers. They were not getting to 53. Like, they kept not saying 53. And I was like, I was getting nervous. This is the most nervous that I was the whole contest, probably. And I was like, say 53. Good grief. I was like, I blew a great routine. You got to say 53. And it was like one of the next to last numbers that said 53. And my whole body just went, oh, thank goodness.
So I'll say this: I had Zach Flanagan to my left, and I had Perrin Smith in front of me, and me and Perrin taped your first routine.
Yeah.
And after you finished, we all looked at each other and we all knew, we were like, guaranteed that second round. Like, because they were out of all the, I mean, we listened to 52 freaking callers. Like, out of all the other callers, like, there were some good ones, and then there were some obvious, like, oh, this, you know, there were some squeaks and some squeals and whatnot. But
It's a complete lockup.
yeah, and Forrest was solid. I mean, I commend you. It was a great routine.
Appreciate that.
And
I appreciate
loud.
that. And loud.
Well, that's good too, because I was worried about it not being loud enough.
So were we.
Personally. Well, thank you. And then I'm like, okay, I've made the second round. So now my focus is let's win this thing, or let's get to the third round. Let's win this thing. So there's 22 people. We draw numbers, and I draw 21. I'm like, great, my buddies are gonna be pissed again. I'm freaking next to last. But then I found out who was like 20 and who was 18. Like, I had really good callers going before me. And I always think that if you go after a good caller, then your score is going to be higher. Because if you can match that person, the judges have no choice but to give you a good score or give you a better score. So I was like, okay, I'm going after really good callers. I've got a good if I can knock down a good routine, I got a shot at third round. So same thing happened. I got up there in the second round. I had a mistake. It wasn't a mistake that the judges could catch, but it was a mistake that I did my third hail different than my first one. So it wasn't as strong as my first routine. So it was like, after I got off stage, well, I messed that up, but it shouldn't hurt me. I shouldn't lose points for it, but I'm not going to gain any points. So anyhow, a few people congratulate me. I don't have to wait any time because there was one caller that was after me. And then Rosie comes back there and goes, we're cutting it to 6. And I was like, well, piss.
See you boys next year.
What are the odds that I'm in the top 6? But I was like, I blew good. I mean, if I get cut, then there's not much more I can do, because I felt like I blew a good routine. And one of my number was one of the first ones called, so I was like, sweet, I've made the third round. Like, I've got a shot at this thing now. And then the 6 of us make it, and Jimbo comes back and is like, all right, here's your twist. And we'd all been talking about what's this twist going to be, making fun. So every contest, the way the routine goes is you break a bunch of high ducks, then you do some greeting calls, then you do feed, like close in stuff, and then you have to act like you've lost the ducks. You have to get loud again, bring them back, do the greeting stuff, the feeding stuff, and the finish. Okay, that's how you're supposed to paint the picture. Well, Jim comes back there and he says, okay, we're going to change the scenario. So you're not actually breaking a bunch of high ducks. This is what you're going to do. He said, third week in January, it's hot, it's cloudy, it's borderline foggy. He said the water's falling, you're on public ground with a bunch of hunters around you. You've got stale birds, and the ducks are cruising the treetops. So my first thought is like, you just want me to get up there and stand there and not make a sound? Because that's pretty much how I call them under that
Kick
scenario.
some water.
Like, I don't have a bucket of water I can kick. Like, I don't have a Drake whistle either. What
Didn't
am I
want to Will
supposed to
McBride
do?
them.
Right. I was like, okay. So we all pretty much
walk out there and just stand on it.
all 6 of us are kind of like wide-eyed, like, Lord, what do we do here? And I asked Jim, I said, do you still want us to pretend like we lose the birds and bring them back? And he just like throws up his hands like, it's all your interpretation. I'm like, well, frick. Okay. I mean,
that's interesting though. Like,
and yeah.
so
and-
did they give do you know if they gave the judges that scenario, like that they told them that's what is happening, or how did they do that?
So what Jim did is he didn't tell the judges until he walked out there. So like before every caller, he read that same scenario so that the judges knew it, the contestant knew it, and the audience knew what was about to happen.
Okay.
For me, I was thinking a few things. Number one was Seth Fields is still in this, and he is by far the most talented person back here. He is the best at improving his routine back here. I was like, he's like, this just went into his wheelhouse big time. And then he drew number 1. So I was like, great, he's going to set the tone for this whole third round. So I was like, we're all behind the 8 ball now because Seth's about to light this thing up. The other thought was I have to be really slow, really quiet, and keep the judge's attention. Because I have to paint this picture, But really, I've got to keep that judge's attention. That's the main goal here, is to keep the judge's attention and try to get a good score.
So let me ask you this. When Jimbo read that off to you or told you guys that, where did your brain immediately go as far as like how I'm going to adjust my routine?
Right. My first thought was my favorite thing to do in the woods is just a simple quack.
Yeah.
And I think I started off with 4 of them. And I was the only person in the third round that started with quacks. Everybody else started with feed.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the third round is the only round that I lost. Dallas Odom beat me by 2 points in the third round. He was the only one that beat me in the third round, I think. But that was the only round that I lost points. But I think I lost points because I did get a little loud at one point because I tried to pretend like they got a little far. I need to get them away from these other hunters, so I got a little loud, but I think I got a little too loud. Who knows?
Right.
But that was difficult. But I drew number 4 in the third round, and when I drew number 4, I thought, great, this is my baseball number. This is a good number. If I was going to draw any number, this is the number I wanted, was number 4. So that thought did cross my mind of like, maybe I'll get lucky today. So with 6 callers compared to all the other rounds, it went fast. And nobody blew 90 seconds. It was just everybody blew fairly quick routines because we weren't prepared for it, which that's the other thing. I got a bunch of people talk to me afterwards and said, what did you think about the twist, the turn? And there's two thoughts in my mind. One, you've got the side that's, I've prepared this routine for a month and a half or more, and I've practiced it. I have made the third round. I have done my job, and now you're telling me I've got to do something different.
Yeah.
You've got that side. I'm on the other side of, I've done my routine, I've done my job, and now you're telling me I've got to do something different, but you're making me prove that I can control this call better than the next guy. So I kind of liked it. There's a lot of people that didn't like it, and there's some that do. If I had to vote one way or the other, I like it. That's just me. I think it makes the guys that have made the third round, I think it makes them prove that they can perform with a duck call and not just a routine.
Yeah.
That's my perspective on it. Go ahead and lay that out there. Well, there were 6 of us, and they were supposed to tell whoever got 6th not to go on stage. But everybody walked up there. Nobody said anything. So all 6 of us were on stage for the announcement. So they announced who got 5th. That was Mason Norman. Congratulations. I think he got 5th 2 years in a row. So consistency. That's exactly what he's shown. He's a great caller. He got 5th. 4th was Ethan McPeak, who is phenomenal. He's going to win one eventually. This is the first time in the last 3 contests that he's placed outside of the top 3, and he got 4th. You can't get more consistent than that. So, at this point, I'm shaking in my boots a little bit, like, okay, am I 6th or am I in this top 3? But every time they were about to announce somebody, I was like, don't say my name. Please don't say my name. And when they said Seth Fields for 3rd, I was like, there's a shot. I got a shot now. Because that was, in my mind, that was the biggest competition. No discredit to anybody else. But if you know contest calling, Seth is probably the best that's ever done it. He's won more categories and more different styles than anybody else has.
So after they announced he won 3rd, were you like, well, I've got 2nd?
I did not think that. I was doing my best to think, not 2nd, not 2nd, not 2nd. But then there was 3 of us up there. And Jim was like, all right, well, we're down to 2 and whatever. And I was like, you still got 3. And I'm pretty sure I said it. It's on camera.
You did.
You still got 3 of us up here. Like 6th place is still up here somewhere, whoever it is. This could be me or it could be Howell or it could be Dallas. It's one of the 3 of us. And Jim was like, well, one of y'all was supposed to come up here. I was like, oh, okay. And then he announced Dallas Odom for 2nd. And I'm pretty sure he was in the 3rd round last year, so consistency on his part too.
So 6th place thought that I'm either
That's what
6th
exactly
or
right,
1st.
Yeah.
Bro.
So when it came down to the last 2, it's me and Hal Robbins. And kudos to him. He's a phenomenal call maker. He's a young guy, makes this great sounding call, a great duck caller. So it's down to me and him, and he's like 6'7". He's super tall, so I'm like,
Did y'all stand right beside each other?
yeah, oh yeah. So I'm like, if in my mind, I'm like, if they announce Hyle, I'm gonna have to look up like I'm looking at Big Bird and say congratulations. Pretty much, like, okay, great. Which, if he wins, I'm gonna congratulate him because he earned it. If that's what happens, and I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, please just call my name, please. Please just call my name. I feel like I have done really well in this contest. Please just call my name. And when Jim said something like, happy to do this to him or something like that, my brain went straight to, Hyle doesn't do a lot of contests. Jimbo has announced my name a bunch for second and third over the last 2 years. So a part of me was kind of like, he's about to say my freaking name. And when he said Forrest, is like, everything went black. I have no idea what happened after that. I was just, it was like relief. Just like, finally, I got a win. I got a big win. Finally, I've been close a bunch of times. Not close to a world championship, but close to winning. And to win this one is a gigantic surprise because I'm not a cut down guy, and I still admit, I even though I've got the trophy, I don't consider myself a cut down guy. There's 100,000 guys that in the woods they blow a cut down call way better than me. But I do a lot of contests, and I know how to put a routine together, and that's what helped me. Mm-hmm. And I know how to practice for these things. So it was that experience is really what helped to win the title. I will gladly admit that I'm not the best cut down caller out there, but the fact that I do a lot of contests and I'm used to being on a stage in front of people and blowing a routine, that is what helped. That is what helped win the trophy, if I have to say.
I think that says a lot to guys that are wanting to get into contest calling. Like, it's not just you got to learn to blow a duck call. You got to go compete, and you need to compete often.
Yes. There's nothing like stage time.
Yeah.
You can practice it, and you can, blow in front of your buddies and show them your routines as much as you want. But there's nothing like actually getting on stage and being the focal point of attention, knowing that there's 5 guys that are about to judge your routine. It's totally different, and the only way that you can do it is actually going to contest and doing it.
Learning to control those nerves, control the adrenaline, and
Yeah, and that's the only way to do it. And I was talking with Alex Johns, the Brownwater Leather Lanyards, earlier today, and he made the point of maybe outside of Seth, the only person that has competed in more contests over the last couple years that was in the World Cutdown would have had to have been Seth. None of those other guys have competed in as many contests that I have. Most of them just compete in the cutdowns, which is 2 a year.
Yeah.
So max, they're getting 2 a year. They've competed in 4, over the last couple of years. But I've competed in, honestly, probably 8 times or more just this year.
Yeah.
Just this year. So getting up there on stage is not, I still feel the nerves, but I'm almost used to it now. I know what to expect. Those guys that it was their first time, that was a rough first time.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
That was brutal. So just that experience, that's what swayed it, honestly, for me. And one of the biggest compliments that I got right afterwards was I looked over and I, said thank you to Jim and for everything he does. And he said, Forrest, your first round after you got done, I text Caleb and said, Forrest is smoking. And that was probably the biggest compliment that I could have ever gotten because, who is more cut down royalty than Jim Ronquist?
Right.
Who? So when he told me that, I already had the trophy and I was happy, but that was like validation.
Yeah.
They're like, okay.
That's a trophy in itself coming from him.
Yes, because there's always going to be, after a contest, there's always going to be people that have their opinions of so-and-so should have won because they did this better, they did this better, so-and-so should have won. Mm-hmm. And that's perfectly fine. That's your opinion. If you think Ethan should have won, that's great. In your opinion, he should have won. You're not hurting my feelings in any way because Ethan is phenomenal. Same thing for Dallas. Same thing for Seth, Mason, Hyle, any of those guys. If you think any of them did better than me, that's perfectly fine. That's great. They're all phenomenal. So you're not hurting my feelings if you think that it's a subjective thing, and that's just part of the game.
Well, so we were down at the booth, and because obviously after 53 callers, we were exhausted. So we were like, we got to go sit down. So,
we got to go back to the bullpen.
We went and sat down and then kind of hung it out down there for a little while the second round was going on.
We didn't sit down.
Well, yeah, we didn't sit down. We were
shaking babies, kissing hands.
There was still a lot of movement happening. But anyways, your best friend Zach was up there kind of keeping like tabs. Like, so he'd text us, hey, made it to the second round. We're good. And then he was like, made it to the third round. And then all he texted was he didn't say a twist. There's a scenario. They're throwing a scenario at the callers. And we were all like, oh, okay. That's interesting because we had never seen that.
Yeah, never.
Nobody
never
has.
heard of it.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so we're down there and Zach's keeping us. Anyway, so like we didn't really hear from Zach near the third round or whatever. Well, I get a text from Chris Harrell, which is a buddy of ours, and he was running the light for the contest. And he texted me and he was like, hey, do you have anybody in the contest? And I said, Forrest. And I was I said Forrest, and I didn't know how well you knew him. And I was typing your last name, and when I text, all he sent me back was hurry, and so we bolted.
I grabbed a camera and started sprinting.
And honestly, dude, immediately, like when he texted me, I was like, he's got it. We're done. Like it's when we were standing there and they were about to announce it. Jamie and my wife and I were standing next to each other. I could hear her heart. Like my heart was in my throat, and it was just like just hard, heavy beats. But dude, we were so excited.
So I made it to the top of the escalator, and they had just said third place. So I start running through the crowd, bobbing, pushing people out of the way. Sorry, sorry, sorry. And I get up there, and I get the camera set right as Jimbo's about to say your name. And when he said Forrest, I don't know if I dropped the camera or if I just threw my hand up in the air, but the footage isn't usable when he said your name. So I'm like, well, crap, I got to get him some pictures. So I start running through the aisles. And, ma'am, if you were listening to this, I apologize. I do not know who you are. I hope you're not in a wheelchair now. But I kicked her in her kneecap harder than I've ever kicked anything before. And, like, in slow motion, I turn around. I'm like, sorry. So I jump up there and get pictures, and I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm getting on stage, and I just gave you a big old bear hug, man. We couldn't be any more excited for you. Nobody deserves it more than you to have that trophy sitting right there. I promise you.
I really appreciate it. I mean, I can't say thank you enough. And to that point, what y'all are talking about, when we walked out there on stage, I felt like I had done well. Like I knew I had done well. So I was like, if I got a shot at this, my buddies are going to be on the front row. And I got out there, and none of y'all were on the front row. Like, well,
I was under the tree.
I was like, well, I guess I got a second again. But Stump and somebody else, Stump is the guy that makes RM calls, which is what Seth was blowing. And those guys were filming. So in my mind, I was like, well, Seth won this thing. And when they announced Seth for third, that is really when I got a little more nervous, like maybe I've got a shot, because that's who I was expecting to win, because in the front row, that's who was filming, was Stump's or Seth's entourage, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, dude, I really don't know what happened after they announced my name. I was just like, just give me the trophy. I don't know what else you're going to give me, but I just want that freaking trophy. Just give me that trophy. That's what I wanted. And the other thing I wanted, I was just like, I just got to give my wife a hug. Because, like, I'm relieved I finally got this. She knows how hard I practice. Poor thing has to listen to me practice every night, and has to listen to all the noise coming from upstairs. But like that's what I needed. And she didn't get there in time. She still had the boys. I was like, okay, not hurting. I was not mad at her by no means, but I was like, where is Leah? Pretty sure that's what I asked her. I was like, where is Leah at?
Sorry, I was your first hug. I bet that was a little disappointing.
It wasn't disappointing. I was happy. I was fine with that. But yeah, it was huge. I'm still, coming down off the high of winning the trophy, and I don't know, it's weird.
It felt like we all won the Super Bowl. We were so
Well, so we got done, and I'm trying to remember his name, Rusty.
Bullock?
No, I don't know. DLW Outfitter.
No idea.
Anyways, he listens to the podcast. He was sitting on the front row. And I noticed as we were all talking and laughing and hanging out, I kept kind of glancing back, and he had this huge smile. He's a big guy, huge smile on his face. Well, Jamie was talking to him, and we were all, taking pictures or whatever. Well, she grabbed me and pulled me back over there to him, and he was like, "Hey, just wanted to introduce real quick," and he told me who he was and what they do, and he was like, "Man, I've been listening to you guys for a year plus now." And he said, "Man, I feel like we all just won this." That's awesome. I was like, "Dude, it's nuts." Then we all felt like we just won this. So it was.
Was it Will Banks, Dustin? Will Banks? Was that who it was?
I don't remember. Man, I was talking to him, watching what was going on over here and wanting to get over here and keep. It just wasn't.
I'll say this too. Like the support from y'all, like how excited y'all were about it it just floored me. Like I'm surprised I didn't cry, to be honest with you. Like it was just like my best friends are here. They know how much I've worked for this. They're just as excited as I am. But like it was just adrenaline dump and just complete relief. After it was over, like after I was announced, like I was just like my whole body, the tension was just gone. Like it was just, I told y'all multiple times at dinner, I was like, dude, I could go to sleep right now and sleep till tomorrow because my whole body was just, all the tension was gone. It was just gone. I've never had that feeling before of winning. And I'll talk about the points because that was it was surprising, but it was also kind of validating to me. Afterwards, I had a 7-point lead going into the third round. So all I had to do was not mess up in the third round. Like I said, Dallas beat me by 2, so I won by 5. And then Seth came up to me afterwards, and he was like, dude, you beat me by 14. You had a 13-point lead on me going into the third round. And he's the one that got third.
Good grief.
So I was like, I feel like I did really well.
Forrest said, hey.
The judges liked what I did. Oh my God.
Champ is here. The champ is here.
And exactly, this is the Forrest. And we have to celebrate for him because he won.
Yeah. He hid his trophy behind the couch. We had to bring it out.
Yeah. We were like, Forrest, we're going to dinner. Let's get this trophy. He's like, no, guys, let's just leave it here.
Did y'all have anything to cover it up just so nobody sees it behind the couch?
That's true. I didn't want to be carrying it through the expo. Like that was so weird. Like I didn't have to, but Rixie asked and Rich and Tone asked for me to bring it to the booth to take pictures with it because rightfully so. I mean, I won with the Rich and Tone call. They want, the trophy should be on display in their booth too because their call won. So, but their booth was on the other end of the expo. So
you had to walk it through.
It was kind of like I have to walk this thing all the way to the other end of the expo, and I speed walked it, boy. I walked as fast as I could. Because I was like, I don't like. It's just even right now talking about like it's real tingly and like weird to talk about like.
Well, we're still
like
super stoked. Like we're pumped for you.
Yeah. Well, Sunday at the expo. Do y'all have anything from Sunday that you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, Saturday night we went out and hung out at Old Bart's.
That's
Old Bart's opened Bart Likes opened a new place in North
That
Little Rock.
place was hopping.
Yeah, dude, it was packed.
Yeah.
It was packed.
It was at Diamond Bear Brewery, right?
Yeah, he took over Diamond Bear Brewery, which was cool. So shout out to him. Props for him.
Yeah, it looked great too. They done a really good job setting all that up.
And he was working. That man was sweating.
Oh yeah.
He worked his rear end off at that.
I think he always works. He's just
that's just him.
Yeah, he's a hustler for sure.
If you've never had any Old Bart's food, you gotta figure out how to get some because it's phenomenal. And I mean, I'm not a food person, but
so I just want to give him a quick shout out before we ended Saturday, and then Sunday, whatever y'all did.
You didn't show up. That's right, did you?
So we stayed out pretty late Saturday night celebrating Forrest, and then Sunday morning we got up. Which I mean, we stayed and celebrated after Forrest left. Forrest like, I'm going home.
I was exhausted. Leah was ready for food, so she had to get some food. So we went to 3 places actually that night. We went to Bart's, and then we went to Flyway, and then the Rev Room. Mm-hmm. And then Leah was like, "I'm starving. It's too loud. I need food." Like, okay. So we ended up at TGI Fridays, and we got food. Me, Zach, and Zach's wife Kat. We all went and got TGI Fridays and just sat down and just pretty much just deflated ourselves.
Finally just was able to turn off.
Yeah, pretty much is exactly what happened. And then Sunday came, and the expo, it didn't have as many people as what Saturday did.
No.
But it was still super busy, just like Friday was.
And there was a line of people at the door to
Yeah.
get in that morning, which I figured, we're not going to start seeing people till after 10:30, 11 o'clock. Like, that's when it'll pick up.
Yeah.
No. As soon as the doors were open, man, it was busy.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think we talked to more people that listened to the podcast or whatever on Sunday than we did any other day.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, I think on Sunday we talked to, golly, I wish I could keep count of how many there were. Should have wrote names down so we could have gave y'all a shout out on here. But man, we appreciate everybody that came by and listened and
yes.
visited, and
Yeah.
especially the ones that came by and got a band.
Yeah,
So-
y'all moved to the A list.
That's right.
Not that the rest of you aren't A list, but we do. I mean, we do like the band people a little better.
But yeah, we stayed there until 4, and then at 4 we tore down and got out of Dodge.
Let me tell you what, Tyler and Matt threw that place down quick. They were ready to be gone.
I was in my truck at 4:24. I looked at the clock. I was
That's
like,
right.
that's how you tear down right there.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Matt had his way of getting out of there. It was like a back way or something. Nobody else was leaving the same way that we were. And he was like, we're
it was
going this
great.
way. And he said, I've already mapped it out. This is how we're going.
I've been buttering up the ladies that work there, those old ladies, all week long. And they showed me where the service elevator was.
Yep.
Out of there.
Yeah,
Dude,
it
it
was
was
when
quick.
we made the final trip out. Other people were starting to be like, "Hey, how are y'all getting out of here?" Don't worry about it.
At that point, we were done. Nah, don't worry about it.
Exactly.
See ya.
What time did y'all start teardown?
The 3:59,
At 4, of
4
course.
3:59. Well, as soon as they said the expo's over, dude,
And
we
by
blew
4:24
through it.
Y'all were out.
Yeah, yeah, we were rolling to get out of there. So it was a blast. I mean,
I will say, I was talking to Ben when he was leaving on Sunday, and I've been a part of a lot of trade shows just with my other job, going to ATA, SHOT Show, and all that. I've gone as a spectator, and I've gone and worked it. And this was probably the most fun I've ever had. And I was there pretty much from open to close every day. I was a couple hours late on Sunday. And just our team that we have that was in there hanging out, the people coming by, shaking hands, talking. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better show experience at all.
What did you
It was
like about it
incredible.
the most?
Just hanging out with you guys, really, and getting to meet people while we were there. And I don't know, man, it was just different.
I like
yeah.
like it.
I mean, Matt did a phenomenal job with the backdrop and everything. I just showed up and helped put stuff together.
I guarantee you it was the most inviting booth that was there. I've said it before. I'll say it 100 times more. But when you walked past the Wellons booth, it was hard not to think, I just want to go sit down and hang out with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and there was a bunch of people that said that, like, man, y'all's booth is just like makes you want to just come in and hang out with you. So,
Well, and that's what we were aiming for.
which we met some cats from Argentina on, was it Sunday?
Saturday.
It was Saturday.
It was
Man,
Saturday.
they just like came in right
Popped
to the
down,
couch, sat
yeah.
down, and they stayed for like 45 minutes. It was great.
Well,
So-
I remember last year walking around and us three kind of discussed, like, you walk around and you see what's going on, and you can tell the booths that are doing really well and the ones that aren't. And it's the guys that are approachable and come out and talk to you, and they don't just stand back behind their table and hoping you come talk to them. Those are the guys that are going to get to, shake your hand and get to know you. So, of course, that's our goal. So we definitely didn't just sit on the couches and wait for you to come sit with us. So
I don't know.
that's-
Sunday, I was like, please come sit down.
Yeah, about 2:30, 3 o'clock, we sat on those couches.
Yeah.
They were also like, we've got all this stuff that we want to hand out because we're not going home with it, like the koozies and
Yeah.
the Germex and everything
Oh.
else.
They go home.
By the end of it, we're like, all right, what of this could we give away and not attract too much attention?
that we Here, take
Exactly.
this leather chair.
Yeah, you want the backdrop?
Would you like a big picture of Tyler Wells?
I want
You
to
can
know
put it in your
this.
garden.
How many people asked y'all, because it happened a couple times, I'm pretty sure, while I was there, and I wasn't in the booth a whole lot except for Sunday, but how many people asked you about the Wellons Rixie stand?
Oh gosh, a bunch.
Really?
A ton of people were trying to buy
A
it.
bunch,
We'd
yeah.
have to point them over to Todd.
Yeah, I was like, come on, man, I'll just walk you over there and introduce you to Todd. And they're like, no, man, we want a Wellons Rixie stand. I'm like, well, we don't have any to sell you. I was like, go over to Todd, like he'll hook you up with a Rixie stand. And man, I don't know how many they sold, but every time I looked around, there was a Rixie that he's got that that logo
Yep.
tape. Man, there were so many people walking around with those, and I was like, you are not going to be disappointed with this.
No. And I mean, I went over there and hung out. I took a picture with the trophy over there. But Friday, my wife and boys came, and trying to entertain those two boys in that expo was brutal. So I was like, y'all want to go see a boykin? Because they had their boykin with them over at
Oh,
Rixie.
yeah.
And we went over there, and I was like, y'all just pet that dog and be quiet. And we stayed there probably a little too long. But I was like, I'm not having to do anything with them. But they have a boykin named Oakley, and she just sat there and let the boys pet her, and everybody was content.
By the end of the weekend, she had a bare spot on her, I'm pretty sure, from being fed so much.
Todd killed it.
Oh, yeah.
He killed it on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
it I will say I was thoroughly pleased. Had a lot of fun. Wish I could have made it around to all the booths I wanted to see because I didn't get to make it to near the ones that I wanted to go and hang out with.
Canvasback and Tom Beckby, I didn't even find them until Sunday.
Canvasback was at the back.
Yeah.
So if you take a left to go to Rixie, take a right to go to Canvasback.
I know. And Tom Beckby was just a little ways from him. But,
Really?
like, both of those, I didn't even find them until I had to, like, actually go and, like, walk around the whole entire place just trying to de-stress and look for stuff. And that was the only way that I found both of them was that. And Grumpy Duck is another one. Like, I had talked to him, and I was like, where are you at? And he's like, oh, we're by such and such. And then I finally realized he was right there next to the Wellons.
Yeah, he was
the whole
just
time.
behind our booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't even
that
know
the
he was over
flag?
there.
No, that was Dixie Decoys.
Gotcha.
He was
They were
was
kinda
literally
adjacent
just
across the
yeah,
aisle,
right across the
yeah.
aisle from them.
Yeah.
And which I don't know if y'all know this, but he's got a laser thing now that he can do like custom stuff to the charging handles, because that's his main thing is charging
Really?
handles. But he can like put the Wellons logo or Off the X or Pond Creek or whatever. He can like put that on the charging handle now.
Yeah, text me that.
Okay.
That's pretty sweet.
That
Okay.
yeah.
It's sweet. Yeah.
Good info.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't have the specs for the Otis guns yet either. So we got to get him the specs for the Otis stuff too, because
We'll
those
make that
charging
happen.
handles, I love his. Like the cord wrapped one is my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I really think that cord wrap looked really good on that burnt bronze and walnut.
It matched perfectly.
do we have any announcements or anything?
The next episode, I would assume we're probably going to be talking about actually hunting, because dove season's coming up and teal season and early goose. Like it's go time. People are doing stuff now.
When does Dove open?
It's either August. It's the 31 days in
It's
August.
gonna be hot.
30.
30.
Hot as piss.
It's either the 30th of August or
That's what I was
September.
fixing to
It
do.
might be September 2nd. Whatever that first weekend in September is, it's that Saturday. Yeah, that's when it is. I mean, it's always hot, but it's coming up, dude.
It'll be here before
It'll
you
be
know
here
it.
before we know it. And then teal season and early goose, and then
We're about
early
to get after them
specs.
early specs.
And then it'll be game time.
Yep.
Big ducks.
I'm excited.
Forrest's gonna bring that trophy with him on the boat ride in.
Yep. We're gonna
We'll
set
put a
it
life jacket on
set
it.
it on front.
It's that ring. It's that ring. I'll be waving the ring at him instead of calling it.
There you
like,
go.
Y'all
I
are supposed to come down
I figure
here.
we put the trophy on front and two little lights that shine on it, so as you're driving the boat, it's just like this golden.
I'll be in the back boat, the other boat.
float.
Not
Yeah, Forrest will be laid in the bottom. I don't know those guys. We'll be playing the Champions here.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's the Delta recap. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Matt, thanks for coming, hanging
Absolutely.
out. It's always a pleasure. You're a good-looking guy.
Thank you, sir.
We'll catch you on the next one.